to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for coming out. I guess I'll turn it over to the superintendent for your report.
Thank you, Dr. Ryan. Tonight, Dr. Ostrov will give a summary of last year's news work and give us a preview of what we'll be working on this year and a pitch for people to be involved.
Thank you. So I do want to start just by saying thank you to all of the staff, and students, and family members, and community members and partners that have been a part of our committees. Our students and all of us benefit from the perspectives, the time, and the work that everyone's investing. So I'm going to start tonight by talking about the Equity Committee. So in the Equity Committee, we convened and then we split into two main subcommittees. The first committee was subcommittee with removing barriers, and meaning removing barriers for students to access opportunities of learning throughout the district. And that committee was chaired by Ms. Walsh-Wilder and Ms. Kaplan. And then the second committee was the Basic Needs Committee. And that was chaired by Ms. Messenger and Ms. Hammerdinger. And so in the Removing Barriers group, we piloted a 9 a.m. bus run, a week bus run for students. So if they missed the bus and they were too far to walk or ride their bicycle, they would be able to take it. We noticed that ridership was low, but we had a handful of students that did participate and ride the bus. It was a pilot from March through June, and we did feel like it was a way to address chronic absenteeism and some of the challenges that we were facing. And whereas we didn't have a huge amount of ridership in our monitoring, we did think that perhaps it's even worth maybe opening up to the middle school. And the rationale is that all of the buses are at the bus stand doing the drop for the elementary schools. It wouldn't be a huge added expense to have that route, that 9 o'clock route coming back. It's not off the beaten path, it's just a straight route. And students could continue to rely on that bus to get to school, with the message from the district being that albeit late, we value you and we want you to come. Another project that the Removing Barriers group engaged in was exploring equity walks. So members sought out training and turnkey different models of equity walks. And in fact, went on walks in different locations, and they got a lot of expertise and brought it back. But when they brought it back to the group, the whole group reflected that we needed to have establish and clarify our common vision for equity before engaging in those walks. And so we identified a common text belonging to a culture of dignity, so that belonging to a culture of dignity. And what the text really says, and what we kind of started to norm our conversations around, was that all students, all people, all faculty members want to be accepted and validated, appreciated, and treated fairly, and have a sense of belonging. And so that's becoming our norm. That's becoming the way in which we are interpreting and monitoring and self-assessing equity. And Dr. Radice led then a district-wide folk study around the text. And it's a basis, there's also some surveys involved that we can use as a basis of our future work. The second subcommittee did a lot of work around basic needs. Gina Reddick spearheaded a portion of that group to produce the Long Beach Resource Guide. And it is a nice, meaty resource guide that shares in Spanish and English all the many wonderful resources accessible to us here in Long Beach in ways that parents, community members, students can reach out and get support. And so this guide is being copied by the City of Long Beach and distributed. It's also been distributed in each school in main areas, as well as to social workers and people in main entryways where they might encounter people that are coming in and just don't know where to go. And so we have this as a reference. It's also available online. There's a QR code there if you're sitting there in the audience and want to take a quick picture and see it. Another one of the basic needs subgroups, led by Ms. Metzger and Ms. Hammerdinger, as I said, they conducted a clothing collection for spring events, and they had a pop-up boutique in June. So that inventory is now available and accessible to social workers in their respective schools. And next year, they hope to then do one in the winter for the winter events, and then another one for some of the moving up ceremonies and end of year events where students may want it. The Curriculum and Technology Committee was also very busy. We based a lot of our work kind of jumping off of the prior year where there was a lot of thought put into our shared values as a district and our profile of graduate. What are those traits? What are those characteristics of students that we value? And so the profile of a graduate was the heart of the work this year. And we conducted focus groups with students in 5th and 8th grade as well as in 11th grade and asked them to kind of point out to us what are the themes, what are some areas that we can grow and reinforce, and what are some things that they feel really strong about. And the 5th and 8th graders said that they feel that they can be most successful if they are exhibiting the characteristics of hard work, perseverance, and independence. And our high school students talk a lot about self-management, open-mindedness, and especially communication skills as core values in their success in high school. So an offshoot of this group, led by Dr. Rees and Mr. Courtney, identified shared texts to support the characteristics. So for example, in September, district-wide, we're going to be focusing on open-mindedness. And so there is an elementary text entitled All Are Welcome. And it's part of that theme of open-mindedness. So K through 2 students are being asked to kind of demonstrate it in kindness, demonstrate it by taking turns and respecting others. And our 3rd to 5th graders, it's a lot of metacognition or thinking about their own thinking and how do they listen to others? When are they most open to feedback? And then how are they exhibiting respect to other people? So throughout the year, we want to examine our assessment practices and how they align with this profile of a graduate. We conduct a lot of assessments. Now, how and where are we capturing all these great things and shared values that we see in our students beyond the traditional assessments? And then our group is very interested in exploring the future role of artificial intelligence in education here in Long Beach. And then finally, we aim to expand career, internship, work-based learning opportunities for our students in conjunction with the community and all of our shared resources and all of the connections that all of our parents have to develop even more opportunities for our students to participate in. Another committee was the Mental Health and Wellness Committee. So it was chaired by Dr. Sabrina Ricaccia. And so I'm going to try to do justice to the wonderful work that was happening there and present on their behalf. The committee hosted its first annual fair, Mental Health and Wellness Fair. It had over 35 presenters, and it was an exciting program, and they really hope to, in the future, build upon those successes and expand it and expand participation even more. The community also coordinated Mental Health Week activities, and that was district-wide, and they want to continue to do so. And they expanded partnerships, so we've had an ongoing relationship with Long Beach Aware. We've had an ongoing relationship with Long Beach Reach, and we're excited to share that we now also are partnering with Northwell Health to provide parent and community education series. So we're looking forward to that and looking forward to more opportunities for our community to come together and talk about our collective well-being. Last year, another subcommittee established for mental health and wellness committed itself to nutrition and physical fitness. There were events related to Harvest of the Month, Healthy Habits, and then there was also a lot of postering about nutrition and healthy eating. This year, we're hoping that we can execute monthly events and happening with regularity for kids to have a norm and habit and exploring school-based fitness and nutrition alignment. And this exciting work continues, and we have another 4th committee that all of you can participate in. So this is also a sales pitch. And I'm going to turn it over to Mr. DeVito to talk about the Health and Safety Committee.
Thank you very much. One of the areas that we always focused on is emergency preparedness. So some of the work that we did was seeing what we can do to improve upon the district safety plan as well as the building safety plans. They all have to be filed at the beginning of the school year, but it doesn't mean that we can't continue to talk about what different things that we could do. So one of the big things that we did over the past year was just to involve the local police and integrate them more in what we're doing. So we had a few emergency drills with the local police, whether it was the Long Beach Police Department or the 4th Precinct. And then we did some debriefing with them to see what things that we can do. And so one of the things that I can share on that is that we decided to have a lockbox on the outside of the buildings that would have a plan, a paper floor plan of our buildings, just in case the electronic floor plan that all law enforcement has and has had somehow just doesn't work. So these were some of the things that we brainstormed about, was that, okay, you know, we have electronics, you have our floor plans, but what happens if for some reason the electronics fail? And then we have the idea of, okay, we're gonna have a paper copy in a lockbox outside and in front of each school. So that's just an example of ways in which we were thinking about what else we can do. So just a small thing, but in the sense of, you think of window blinds, but, you know, we did install new window blinds in classrooms in the high school, because we realized that that was something that we wanted to improve upon in terms of, you know, there's so much glass in the high school and what we can do to create areas where students and staff are out of the line of sight. For next year, in terms of preparedness, we decided to say, okay, so this is the go home early drill that we've had over the years, the day before Thanksgiving. All right, everybody knows it's the day before Thanksgiving and kids get to, you know, are dismissed 15 minutes early. We'll put you right. But what does it really mean? What is it designed to do? And so we, you know, we work closely with BOCEs and talking about, it's really designed to test the communication system and the transportation system. But if it's so predictable that it's always going to be the day before Thanksgiving, are we really testing it? Or are we really pushing ourselves? So we said, all right, this is what we can do. We can have it in October, okay, not the day before Thanksgiving. And we're going to send out a notice, and actually I'm going to send something out tomorrow, as I put in an email and a letter, to let parents know we're going to be sending something out on Wednesday, September 13th. Why? To test, to make sure we have the correct contact information, your email, your phone, for calls, for text. If you don't receive some sort of communication from the district tomorrow, and we did get notice a few weeks ago about this in a handout, part of the package on the first day of school, then you know we don't have your up-to-date contact information. And we're going to send it again the day before the actual drill in October. Say tomorrow, reminder, we're having an early dismissal drill. Are you receiving these, in essence, are you receiving these communications? So another example of what we're doing to ask, what else can we do to make sure we're prepared? And that's really what it's all about, is being prepared. Another big area was about, that we talked about, was high school IDs, and talking about how students are using them, and are they going to be wearing them? Should they be wearing them all the time? And what kind of uses can we have in terms of getting into the building? And we, you know, we spent a good deal of time working through this issue, and we, you know, arrived at consensus that we would have IDs, the students would wear them at the high school, and we would use them to register that they arrived in the building on that particular day. How that's now evolved with the new bathrooms is, you know, we have new bathrooms in the high school, and they are accessed through a card. Right now, staff for the building aides who are right by the bathrooms are getting access, but at some point, students will use their new ID cards. They're going to get a new card that allows them access into the bathroom, and not only will that provide access to the bathrooms, but it'll also give them access in the building in the morning, and also to the cafeteria and the library that the current card does. So again, thinking about what we can do to use technology to our advantage, and also to keep our buildings as safe as possible. That's what I have to share.
So we've heard a little bit about the core committees. You will also be receiving some communication with me tomorrow. I'm going to be reaching out and asking for volunteers to serve on the different committees. And so the committee work is very much framed by the participants in it. And we welcome you to join us. There is a QR code there if you want to fill out the form. By filling out the form, you give us the contact information. I'm going to be sending it out via email tomorrow, and you can see the dates of our upcoming meetings throughout the year for the Equity Belonging Committee, for the Technology, Mental Health and Wellness, and Health and Safety. So I look forward to a productive year in all of our committees, and hopefully a lot of involvement from our committees.
Thank you, Dr. Ostrov. Any board comments?
Just real brief, thank you for presenting on this. I know working on these committees, there's a lot of fruits of our labor come out of it.
looking forward to next year.
Joan?
I have a question. First off, thank you for your hard work. This really looks great. My question is, the students at the high school, will they be scanning into school every day with their IDs?
Yeah, they're doing that now, but they will be doing it with the new cards once they distribute it.
Thank you so much for your presentation, Dr. Ostrov and Mr. DeVito. We really appreciate it, and I also want to extend my thanks to everyone who served on these committees all year long. The board members are also participating in the board committees, so I would like to thank them for that participation. I really want to highlight this book from the equity committee. This is highlighted on our school website because on resources and you can find the book. It is extremely informative of all the different numbers that you can use, that you utilize to help our students and our community members. And it really took a lot of time for these numbers to be collected and put into one space. So I really find that this is an exceptional, valuable packet. Going back to our equity and engagement committee, I know that we discussed removing barriers. 9 a.m. bus run for high school students. I remember last year it was kind of slow coming. How is it? Are we finding that more students this year in the middle school and the high school are utilizing it? Or we're not sure yet?
We paused on the pilot, and so the pilot ran from March to June, and we're thinking of starting it up again and actually expanding it to the middle school. I already spoke to Mr. Toops about it, and it seems like something that's realistic, if not a significant cost or expenditure to the district that could encourage and kind of align with our focus on improved attendance. And so it's only a couple of kids, but it's a couple of kids every day. And a couple of kids every day is important to us, and so we felt like that might be something we'd like to do.
Also, do we know when you will be able to start the program?
I bet we could start it as soon as we communicate with transportation, and so maybe we could get word out and potentially start the service as of next week.
All right, that would be wonderful. Thank you. I look forward to hearing about that. Also, the boutiques, I remember that last year they were very popular. Do we know when again the inventory will be collected, or let the parents know when inventory will be collected?
I'll take that if you want.
That's right.
So we are working with some high school students, the high school clubs, since those clubs are just getting off the ground next week. We're going to try to line up some dates, but we're looking at an early fall collection at the middle school, and then shortly thereafter, a boutique at the middle school, and then a week or two later, a boutique at the West End in the community center, and then again in early spring. So those dates will all be like forthcoming once the committee starts to meet and put those plans in action.
I just know I've heard a lot of positive feedback from the community about the boutiques, and I know they were anxious for it to start again. It's very helpful. Thank you.
Getting the word out.
Yes.
And also, with the profile of the graduate, the authentic assessment piece, for the report card alignment, does this mean that we're gonna have a parent, are we gonna look to have another committee to change our report card? Or are you just looking to fine tune it? What will this look like?
So I guess some of it is internal work. So over the past few years, we know that there's been a lot of changes in terms of our curricula. And so there are some tweaks that have to be made because of new science curriculum, new math curriculum. All report card changes, actually it involves a very lengthy process. I mean, we want to make sure that when we change the report card, we're doing a meaningful change and it's changed in alignment with our goals. And so I think that is the goal, is to have some community feedback, have teacher feedback and leader feedback, and we are going to update our elementary report cards 100% and look at ways that we can even improve upon some of the statements. So for example, in the middle school has NYP goals. It came up in discussion at our last meeting that are aligned with this profile of graduate that are often used as comments. And even just highlighting those and making sure that people are aware that all of these goals, that we have these visions for students, open-mindedness in September, that we're teaching to that. We're teaching these things that we want to see in our students throughout, and that there might be comments that are associated with each of them that we can make accessible and do some turn-taking training with our faculty so that they're utilized to really leverage this common vision of what education should be in life.
So you probably are thinking then about having a committee involving some of our stakeholders to change the report card?
Definitely the report card at the elementary level, we are changing aspects of our report card. And then especially in focus to the comments on the middle and high school. And so, but more so than the report card, which has a lot more internal meaning to it and a little less public feedback to it. There are alignment with skills, knowledge, goals, state standards. Whereas I feel like what we're really looking at is also the assessments. We have, for example, portfolios that our students are exiting third, fourth, and fifth grade with. And how can we use these portfolios for students to feature their work, for example, and kind of share and showcase their best work. When we're looking district-wide and we're looking at different types of assessments, project-based, performance-based assessments are a great way to benchmark student learning and ways that we can kind of foster many more of those behaviors that teach into and lead to these ends. And so I think it's more holistically looking at assessment district-wide, leaving some of the report card conversations to the school alignment and the standards, but finding opportunities to take the profile of the graduate as well and integrate it with it, whether it be through comments or whether it be through goals within the profile.
Okay, that's a lot of work.
It is.
It's very important work, especially in the elementary level, where the children are really building on their skills and the foundations for learning. You know, we always say that, the elementary is the foundation of the home. If you give them a strong background, a strong foundation, and they'll grow strong as learners. So I find that report card very important to our little ones and to their parents. So I really would love to hear more about this as the work progresses.
And where we can use parents is that it's about parent communication. One of the main purposes of our report card is parent communication. So our teachers are constantly monitoring student growth in hundreds of different ways. But the report card is the way in which we communicate that to parents and give some clarity to parents. And so of course we want to know, is it landing? Are parents using it in that way? Are they learning about their children's growth and learning? And are they really getting the messages that we want to send about habits of mind and standards? And so it should be a good discussion.
Also, the implications of AI in education, I find that quite interesting, especially since it's such a buzzword these days, how children can use AI, and should they use AI. How are we finding that our students are using AI in the classrooms?
So there's a little bit of a give and take because we're right now it's new technology. And just like Wikipedia, I compare it to Wikipedia because it's a really good comparison. When Wikipedia first came out, AI is similar to Wikipedia, it's crowdsourcing information. And so in a way, we're now kind of faced with a different landscape of learning and differentiating learning. So a lot of our leaders and teachers are engaged in constant conversations about this. I know there was a committee that met that started to look at some kind of procedures around AI when we find out that students are using AI in the classroom. We have some of our leaders engaged in a forum at Hofstra because they really are leading the learning here. So we have teachers and leaders presenting at Hofstra. Unfortunately, it's in conflict with one of our board meetings on the 26th, but I could definitely publicize that link where it will be a discussion about AI in education. And so we have our own very own teachers, Ms. Tercy will be there, and I think Mr. Jones, help me out here, Ms. Tercy, who else is presenting from Long Beach?
Mr. Jones, Dr. Reese, myself, Mr. Tony Weiss.
And Ms. Weiss from high school.
Former veteran.
And there's also going to be a parent academy that's focused on this topic as well, and it's already in the district calendar for October, I believe.
Yep.
And we're hosting a parent academy in AI and education as well.
I also would like to mention the college and career pathways. When I first began on the board about 5 years ago, Dr. G was just actually starting how to grow our life skills program, and she's really done a phenomenal job in finding different pathways for our students to learn. The mechanics program is one of them, amongst many others. So I just really want to give her a big thank you for the success that we've had in our change in career pathways. I think you really opened it up a lot to all of our students and their different methods of learning.
Thank you, Mrs. Conway. I just want to add though, mechanics existed long before I got here. What we have done as a team over the past 5 years is applied for CTE certification for these programs, which gives our students an industry-ready credential on graduation. In fact, we currently have so many CTE programs that we'll be able to apply this year for Perkins grant funding, which normally only goes to the local BOCES. But if you get to a certain number of CTE programs in district, you're eligible for that funding yourself. So it'll be $100,000 or so of additional funding to keep growing these programs, and students have many options in programs.
So we have about 26, right? 26 different, or am I?
No, it's not 26. I want to say 7 or 8.
7 or 8, yeah. I went from 26 to 7 or 8. Just one more question about the cards. Mr. DeVito, I remember waiting for the old ID cards took quite some time. How long is it going to take for the new ID cards?
Well, the new ID cards have already been printed. What we're waiting for is, before we distribute them, is the pairing of the actual card reader, which reads this card, and integrating that for the cafeteria and the auditorium. So the cards work now for the bathrooms, but what we're trying to do is replace Scholarship, which is the system that we're using to register a student if they go into the cafeteria of the library, to make sure that their schedule allows for them to be in the cafeteria of the library. So it's going to happen, like hopefully any day now, in terms of pairing the readers with an actual display that actually reads the schedules of the students, that the cards are overprinted and they work for the bathrooms.
Do those installations, do those systems ever have a chance at failing? Do they always work well? Because I know sometimes electronics are not something that you can rely on.
Sure, we do have a key, right, that opens them. Electronic systems do fail. I can say the Gallagher card system, and that's the name of the company that does it. We use it to access our buildings, all the time. And it's been pretty reliable. It's the same system that we use to get into our buildings, and it's been pretty good. I know Scholarship, we're trying to move away from that company because it's not the most cooperative company in terms of the software and being customer service oriented. So we know we're looking forward to get away from Scholarship. I'm looking forward to have everything in this one card. I'm sure systems do fail, and we do have a backup with keys, but it's a pretty good system.
All right, thank you so much. That's the end of my questions.
Dr. Ashworth, can I just ask one question regarding the AI? I know Ms. Comrie asked the question about the implications, but are we also exploring some of the more positive aspects? Yes, okay.
Actually, most of what we're exploring is positive aspects. A lot of the work that we do in terms of writing, for example, is process-oriented work where, students grow a voice and teachers become very familiar with student voice if they're reading a lot of their work. And so the idea of AI not having a voice, right? But AI being very useful. I don't know if anyone's ever, asked AI to help them come up with a menu for dinner. It's very helpful. If you're stuck on a topic for a very long time, sometimes you plug it in and you could even have it review and edit work for you. AI is very good at pulling research on a certain topic, both for and against, and it's really as good as it's prompting. And so I think that is exactly what we're exploring with students, because we think that might be a huge part of being a great employee and a great contributor to society in the future, is harnessing AI and using it in ways that leverage its capacity to help the work that we do.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm asking, because I have seen, although albeit, we don't want computers to take over people's jobs, this is kind of the direction that we're moving in, and I want to make sure we're focusing on some of the positive aspects. I can say personally, I found an AI app that will take a very long video and snip it into smaller videos and highlight things. So, for music, for TV, there's a lot of cool things other than just it writing your paper for you. I think that's how we all think of AI. But AI, has a lot of positive things, and I think you're right. Moving into the future, this is going to be where jobs are going. So I want to make sure we're staying. We're not. When I read this, I said implications. To me, implication can sometimes be negative. So as long as we're looking at the positive and negative, then I think that's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Currently, a lot of the programs that have AI capacity, like ChatGPT, these are pilot programs, and you don't protect for student privacy, so they are blocked within our district. But faculty can use them with students to show them their capacity. And so we do protect student ID, we protect our personal information, and we don't have contracts with these different companies. So in some ways, our hands are tied in terms of demonstrating it from students, but I anticipate that's going to change very fast, and we'll see a lot of opportunities for students to engage in ways that are age appropriate and healthy as technology goes on.
Good, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Ostrov, for the presentation. I have 3 quick questions. One, are the meetings basically traditional after-school meetings or are they Zoom? And how is that determined?
This is a tough one, because I think that there are some really huge benefits to being in person, and there are benefits also to being on Zoom. I think last year we did the first and last meeting in person, and the in-between meetings on Zoom, and we saw a huge decrease in participation when we went to live meetings. What I also found was that a lot of the subcommittee meetings were live in person. So I think a nice balance might be at the large meetings to encourage participation and attendance. So for example, if the teacher is staying after in one of our elementary schools, it's very difficult to go from, for example, West all the way to Toledo by 4 o'clock for a teacher. And so in a way, it opens up opportunities for teachers and students and parents on a busy day to be able to participate by doing it on Zoom. So I think the structure we're going to use is to rely on these Zoom-based meetings for the large forums and to have subcommittees do some of their work in person, and with the smaller groups able to find common times and locations where they can meet. And hopefully we'll continue to have good participation and see even more so.
Okay, do you find it an optimal size to committees? Is there a size in which work becomes somewhat prohibitive because you've got so many voices and it takes much longer to come up with a product? Or is that not the case?
I find committee work to be challenging, as I'm sure we all do. I think more important than the size of the committee are the challenges, tasks, and opportunities that the committees are taking and finding individuals within them to take leadership roles. So I think there's an infinite number of subcommittees that we can have in any one large committee. I think in some areas that's been capitalized on more. So some of our committee work might have been more productive, especially in some of the subcommittees where it was smaller groups that really felt passionate and really took some leadership within those smaller groups. And so my hope for this year is that you'll notice that in curriculum and technology, for example, there's more subgroups and there's more subcommittees. The large group is very large. We were in large group trying to kind of find ourselves for a little longer than felt productive, but I think we now have a vision and a clear goal for some of the subcommittee work that we're taking place next year. And so I don't know if it's an optimal size for committee or an optimum number of subcommittees that can value all of the input of the diverse perspectives of the people.
Yeah, I just think it was a good idea to sort of weave together the curriculum and technology committee, given just the growing relevance of technology and its presence in instruction. So I'm grateful for that. And my last question, I just wanted to let everybody know there's another committee, and that's policy, which overall might be the most important committee in district. Mrs. Conway and myself will be serving on that committee, along with the superintendent, Ms. Stolen, district clerk, and related service providers. They may be administrators, maybe teachers, maybe non-instructional staff. The state every once in a while will come up with a recommended policy that districts should have. So we will meet and we will convene and basically look at what the state's recommendation is and try to customize it to here in Long Beach. And then when that happens, it's presented on a board docket. We'll present it over a period of meetings with this discussion and public review, after which it's adopted eventually by the district. So that too is a very, very important committee. I want to thank Mrs. Conway for serving on that. I also want to thank the other board members for volunteering to serve on these respective committees that were highlighted tonight. So thank you again, Dr. Ostrov, for putting this all together, and hopefully it'll be a good year for committee work here in Long Beach. Moving right along, Dr. Gallagher. Board of Ed, I guess we've already had the Board of Ed comments. Questions, comments from the public? Student organization announcements, anybody? No? Okay. You know, we keep bringing that up at meetings. I think somebody has to reach out to Mr. Myers to see if there's going to be any student representation. Otherwise, we may want to amend this agenda for future meetings, get those students done. I mean, they're always welcome to come to any public meeting if there's an issue, and they have historically. So I just think that that's something, we may want to reach out to Mr. Myers if student government wants to participate or something that they should extend that follow-up. Questions or comments from the public on tonight's agenda only? Please. Yeah, just press the button there, green light comes on. Good.
Hi,
It works.
I'm Kate Judge Patton, 233 West Bolton Street, and I had a question regarding the late bus for the middle school. That, is it a consideration that having a late bus is encouraging lateness as opposed to investing in phone calls and supporting the importance of being on time to school? Just throwing that out there. I understand this is a challenge, but as a parent, I think it's very important to be on time. I know high school students are kind of a different beast, but in middle school, maybe we could still get them there on time. So.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Treasurer's report for July 2023, no action. Approval of minutes for executive session and regular meeting of August 29, 2023, and special meeting of August 31, 2023. May I have a motion? Motion. Will you second that motion?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Ms. Delsey?
Yes.
Ms. Pace?
Yes.
Ms. Conway?
Yes.
Pinto? Yes. And I vote yes. Presentations, Mr. Superintendent.
I ask the board to consider item 1, certificate of personnel as amended, and the amendment is on page 4, item L, that should read both tenured and non-tenured administrators.
You may have a motion. Motion as amended.
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Delsey?
Yes.
Ms. Pace?
Yes, that's amended.
Ms. Conway?
Yes, as amended.
Pinto? Yes. And I vote yes.
I ask the board to consider item 2, non-certificated personnel.
I'll make a motion. We have a second.
Second.
Discussion? Ms. Delsey?
Yes.
Pace?
Yes.
Ms. Conway?
Yes.
Pinto? Yes. I vote yes.
And I'd ask the board to consider items 3 through 7, with item 7 as amended. I think the dates for circular just have to flip because the Christmas party should be in December.
Okay, may I have a motion?
Motion.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, I would just like to give a big thank you to Ms. Denise Ford and the Nassau County Police Benevolent Association for all the backpacks. There were over 300 backpacks that they gave to our district. We were giving them out in our park, and then they gave us the 300, so we could disperse them to our schools. So it was very generous of them.
Any other discussion? Ms. Delsey?
Yes.
Ms. Pace?
Yes.
Ms. Conway?
Yes. I just want to say there weren't 48 backpacks. There were more than 48 backpacks, so about 100 per box.
Okay, so as amended then.
Thank you.
Okay, and, Pinto? Yes, as amended. And I will vote yes. Board of Ed comments? Additional new old business, Benny? Okay, questions, comments from the public? Okay. Announcements. Mr. Holly? Association?
Keith Hobby, President of the Local Special Teachers Association. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. Tonight's agenda, I'd like to welcome our new member being appointed. Also, with regards to our community presentation tonight, I'd like to thank the district for the commitment and the partnership you have made. It's worthwhile to accomplish some goals. And on behalf of the teachers, I'd like to thank the school board, the school district, the building administrators, and all of our SLP workers for the commitment they made for a successful start to the school year. Look forward to having a wonderful school year. Thank you.
Thank you. Ministers Advisory, EPS Group, Mr. Beesman.
Good evening, Keith Bees, my name is PPG President. On behalf of the building administrators, we'd like to report a very smooth opening in all the buildings. Special thank you to the building level administrators, the district directors and coordinators, teachers, TAs, building aides, clerical staff, food service workers, custodial staff, building and ground security, most of all, transportation for a smooth opening, which hasn't happened in a long time. We also have the security, if I didn't mention that. Also like to thank the support of the central administration, as well as you, the school board members, for supporting us. And lastly, the parents for sending their children to our schools. Thank you, parents, for trusting us in educating your children. Lastly, the high school is very excited about the new bathrooms, as well as the updated library, and the elementary administration reported a very smooth opening for the 4-day pre-K. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beesman. LBSCA.
Good evening, Barbara Vahey, Vice President of LBSCA. Welcome to the new school year. It was a great opening. Thank you to everybody. Thank you to the Board of Ed, our administrators, and all the faculty and staff. We'd like to welcome all our new appointees. And I would like to thank Dr. Ostroff and Mr. DeVito for the presentation tonight, and Dr. Bryan for your new policy committee. Good evening.
Okay. Teacher Association.
Hi, I'm Amy Nicholas. I'm one of the CCPTA presidents and also the Lido PTA president. I just wanted to say thank you, especially to the transportation department. We've had nothing but great things this year, which, like you said, hasn't happened in many years. Parents are very happy. Also, we have packed houses at our elementary PTA meetings. Thank you so much for Ms. Pace for stopping by and welcoming parents. On a parent feedback level, I'm sure you've heard the rumblings, is the air conditioning. And while we are aware that it's not possible and a lot of moving parts here right now, I urge you to take a second and just pop into one of those classrooms for that air conditioning, because I was sympathetic on like a peripheral level because my kids work in air conditioning classrooms and we don't. But I happened to be stopping in a classroom the other day to drop off books. It didn't have air conditioning and it was gross. And the kids were laying across the desk like that. So I understand that there's only so many spaces and the principals are doing the best that they can. But I think if the school day is an hour longer, it's getting hotter, it should be something not doing that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
I'm high school PTA, co-president. I just want to say thank you. The new bathrooms are fantastic, and that has been anxiously awaited for many, many years. And it was a great start to school.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, we have a motion to adjourn. Motion. Second. All in favor? Thank you.
Bye, guys.